Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Under the Olive Tree. I'm with Miss
Taylor Stevenson.
And I'm with
Zach.
If y'all have noticed, I've filmed one of the episodes already with Zach. He was an awesome guest. I liked him so much we brought him back, but we're honestly here on this episode to talk about Taylor and her journey. So with that being in mind, let's go ahead and jump right into the podcast, guys. So I always like to do like a little icebreaker. This one's kind of a fun question. I literally sat there probably last night for like an hour because there's so many people that I would actually enjoy doing this with. But what biblical character, Taylor, would you want to go to dinner with and why?
Yeah, that is hard. I think ultimate answer would be Jesus. I mean,
That's what I feel like everybody's same answer would be Jesus, and I was like, I might have to take him off the table just for this one question. I think mine would honestly, of course, Jesus would be awesome to sit down, ask him all the questions. But I was also like, who else would I go to dinner with? Probably, I'd say King Solomon, the wisest man ever. Just be able to sit down and talk to him and ask him different questions.
Yeah.
What about you, Zach?
I thought about this, and Taylor, she's like, "Oh, you should say like Moses." And I'm like, honestly, probably like Samson.
Yeah.
About how much power he got from God, and just different questions like that. That's just my thoughts. I really like Samson.
I was about to say, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Start asking, like, how heavy were those pillars that you brought down?
Oh yeah.
yeah. But I had another one outside of Jesus.
What was your other one?
Which is funny that you say Solomon, because I said David.
Yes.
From him, his faith at a young age, and then just all the crazy stuff that he did.
That
I thought
he
that'd
went
be
through.
cool.
He went through so much.
Yeah.
Just from being a shepherd boy all the way to being a king, all the way to being, God's chosen one for the rest of everyone else coming after him, from King Solomon building the temple and it just falling. And that's what I'm reading through. I'm going through 1 Kings and 2 Kings right now. And those are probably amazing. People really sleep on the the Old Testament.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really focus on the dude. I was like, dude, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
You've got to read both of them because you're going to really miss a lot of stuff in the Old Testament.
Definitely foreshadows everything.
Oh, dude, the parallels running with them is what blows my mind. From like Moses holding the serpent that he had made with the serpent on the staff just as the Son of Man, and him just referencing that. I'm like, dude.
Yeah. And I also saw one of Abraham like taking Isaac to the altar.
He's carrying his own wood up there for the sacrifice. Yes.
And like Jesus carried the cross up to the same hill.
And then you can't sit there and say, the one thing that Abraham wanted more than anything was a son, his own son.
Yeah.
He had a son, the thing that he loved and cherished the most, and God asked him to sacrifice him in his name, and goes to sacrifice him, and an angel yells, hey, stop.
Yeah.
And there's a ram caught in a bush over there, use that. But then here comes God with his son, that he did sacrifice his son for all of us to continue to be where we're at right now, to have another chance to be with God.
Yeah.
Like, that's why when I get someone arguing the Bible's not real, it was written by, I was like, I doubt it. There's too much back and forth, there's too much evidence, there's too much. I was like, and a lot of people argue that, I found out, is they just haven't really sat down and tried.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I do the same thing. Someone will tell me something, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe there is something right there that I'm not seeing. I'll go back and read it, and I completely flip the script and like, nope, like this is definitely real, because if you look here. I was like, you got to actually sit down and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the most important things, other than just looking at it and reading it, is like praying before you read and asking God to reveal these things.
Yeah.
There's that thing, there's the veil that's lifted over your eyes.
Well, and that's what, like I was telling my wife, I had to, because she'll read something and she'll come straight to me and she's like, I don't understand, I don't get it. I was like, hey, I'm not end all be all. Don't keep going to another person to try and figure something out, because they're going to give you, I hate to say perspective because I hate that word, but they're going to give you the perspective that they got. Everybody experienced the Bible differently, but it explains that the Holy Spirit, there's a veil over you, and the Holy Spirit is slowly pulling that veil back over your eyes, so it's revealing stuff to you. So you really need to pray and meditate before you go in to deep dive Bible study. Say, hey, God, I just found the answer I was looking for, I think for like 5 years, and I finally found the answer. I told her, I was like, you're not going to get it all at one time. It's complicated. it runs deeper than anything else in this world, and I love it. But we'll jump right into this, Miss Taylor. So I want to know a little bit about your background and what's going on. So tell us a little bit about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up everywhere. My family moved around a lot. Yeah, we lived everywhere. I have 3 younger sisters too. And so our family was just kind of all over the place. Growing up though, we lived with our parents, and unfortunate circumstances, we ended up not living with our family anymore. We were put into the foster care system, and eventually we did go to live with my grandmother, and then eventually my dad was kind of in and out of jail. But my mom, she worked really hard to get us back, and so she got us back from our grandmother. And throughout the whole time, like even in foster care, I would go to church with our foster family, and I was very fortunate that all of my sisters got to stay with me, because usually when usually when you have a big group of kids, they will get split up. But for me in my personal life, that made me very much of someone who wants to nurture and kind of lead. So we would go to church and stuff within foster care, and my grandmother would take us to church, and my parents used to be super involved at one church. So yeah, church was kind of always a part of my life, but I didn't really experience Jesus and the relationship with him until I was older. But yeah, I always knew that there was a God, and I always knew. And
it didn't hit you until later what actually
but I always prayed, and even before I had my relationship with Jesus, I would, read the Bible to my sisters, like, those little kid Bibles books.
Yeah.
I would read those.
I actually love those. I think I still got a couple of mine.
Oh, I have so many of them. There's one that I used to read to my little sisters, and I kept it, and I gave it to Miley when we had Miley, and she ripped it, so I was like, I'm going to put this up. But it's just a little special to me.
That's amazing that y'all, I really want to talk about that y'all got to stick together coming through the foster system, because that's where a lot of them get split. I mean, that's awesome that y'all.
We weren't in there for very long either, so that was also pretty cool. But we did create good relationships with the people, and it was just interesting to get into different aspects of life.
I've met your mom. She was super nice. That is the nicest woman I've ever met, honestly.
Yeah, she is.
I knew we went into the store that she was working at, and it's so funny because I was looking. I was like, that looks like Taylor. And I was like, I got to talking. I think I said something about you or something. She's like, you talking about Zach Stevenson? I was like, yeah. She's like, I'm Taylor's mom. I was like, it's so nice to meet you. She's super nice.
Yeah, my parents, both of them are awesome. They just, they had kids young, so,
it's hard.
Just things happen, but both of my parents are great.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But you talked about how your family and your siblings were, and what's the dynamic with your siblings now? I've got 2 sisters. I've got a twin sister. I've got an older sister. She's 8 years older than me, my twin. We all 3 have the same birthday, though.
Oh, that's crazy.
Funny thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, me and my twin were born on my older sister's 8th birthday, so we all 3.
Your parents didn't plan that?
Oh, dude, I tell my mom that all the time, and like we didn't grow up like super rich or anything, so it's like my mom would try her best to make a separate cake, but sometimes my cake was pink because there's like 2 other girls. So I was like, she put a ninja on it and be like, it's a boy's cake. I was like, is it? But I know our dynamic was horrific growing up. We got in fights all the time. But when we got older, especially my twin sister, we actually got a lot closer. That's why I argue with my wife. And she's like, we have kids. We have to have multiple ones that can be friends. It's like, that's not how that works sometimes. That is not how I experienced my sister growing up.
Me and my older brother, for sure, were like 2.5 years apart. We fought all of our childhood. Now we're like really good buddies and stuff like that. But
if you don't know, we at work look forward to the stories that Zach tells about him and his brother, because they're freaking hilarious.
They're pretty good.
Holy crap.
No, but my sisters and I have a great relationship. We've always been really close, and it's so interesting to me. I don't realize how close we are. It's just how we've always hung out. But we'll go out and we hang out at least once a week, every week. We're always hanging out with each other.
Usually it's at our house.
I was just about to say, how's that? You walk in the house and there's a house full of girls, and Zach's like,
my sister's over right now. We are very loud.
And then if anyone didn't know, they actually just had a wonderful little girl. Y'all like to talk about her a little bit?
Yeah,
For sure.
She's a sweetie pie. She's a blessing, not in disguise at all. Like, we prayed, and what a beautiful, healthy child. Like, we couldn't ask for more. She's awesome. We love her so much.
Dude, what drove us, or not drove us crazy, what was funny to us when you first, we had like a work party or something, you first brought her over there, and we're all like, yeah, that's Zach's kid. That looks just like Zach right there.
They're twins.
My little twin, for sure.
They are.
She acts like Hannah, though. Cause she's
Does she?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, Lord.
My parents said I never acted like that. Your mom said she acts like you when you were little.
Yeah, okay.
She's got every aspect of Zach.
But yeah, that's great that you're able to still hold on to those relationships and keep them. But let's kind of move into how did y'all meet? How did y'all get together?
Goodness. Yeah, I can. So when I was in high school, I just really wanted to play a sport. And so my 9th grade year, it wasn't really going to work out. I always had issues because I grew up in a single mom household, and she was working all the time.
Yeah.
And so, because she didn't get a whole lot of help from people. So she was always at work. So I knew I wouldn't have a ride anywhere.
Just in that's hard. My sister's a single mom with a kid. I never, I grew up, 2 parents household. I never understood how hard that crap was until my sister started just calling me, and I was like, it straight up takes a village to raise a kid.
It's
and
difficult.
I give props to any single mom or single dad out there. I don't know how anyone does that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Sorry.
Especially nowadays, yeah.
That's
no,
crazy.
that's fine. But yeah, so I knew I wouldn't be able to have a ride or pay because you have to pay to play sports. But I just decided that I wanted to go out for wrestling. Honestly, I just used to love WWE. And I knew it wasn't the same.
Who was your favorite wrestler?
Oh, CM Punk.
For real?
Who's watching him now? I'm so embarrassed, but I loved him. There was this kid in my middle school, and he would bring me these CM Punk cutouts, and we were besties. Dude.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I used to love CM Punk and AJ Lee, and I love that they're married now.
I didn't know
This
that.
is like dream.
I didn't know that. They're
married.
married.
But no, when he went into, did he go into the UFC or started boxing? I was so embarrassed for
He had a
him.
couple fights in the UFC.
Wasn't that
Didn't
good?
last too long.
I was about to say, I barely heard about that.
It didn't last too long.
But yeah, I loved him, and I just loved wrestling. It was cool. So I wanted to try out high school wrestling, and I was in my French class, and my 9th grade year, I wanted to go, and I went to try out, and the coach was like, "Oh, we already had tryouts," and so I was like, "Okay, don't know what to do with that." And then 10th grade year, I was sitting in my French class, and I told my French teacher how much I loved wrestling and wanted to try it. And it's all God. The wrestling coach comes into her classroom to ask her something, and she's like, you can't speak English in French class. So she was like, la loot, la loot, la loot. And she was like going like this, flexing her muscles. And he was like, oh, you want to try out wrestling? And I was just shaking my head because I would get in trouble if I spoke English. And he's like, come see me after this block. And so I started wrestling, and I started my 10th grade year. And so Zach was a senior, so we didn't really talk too much.
Yeah.
But I knew his best friend because his best friend was very loud and very talkative, and so he kind of talked to anybody. So I knew his best friend, and I actually would sit and eat lunch with Zach because of one of his other friends, but I never really, realized. We just all kind of sat together. And then, the season went on, and he was a senior, and we would actually be partnered up in groups because we were around the same weight. And so didn't think anything. It's like, let's just get in, let's just work hard.
Yeah.
And after the season was over, I don't even remember exactly what happened, but me and my friend posted a funny video, and he just slid up on it, and we started talking.
Yeah, Zach. Got in the DMs.
I give my rundown from my perspective.
Zach's like, all right, this is my perspective. Real fast, when y'all, this is a question I have to ask y'all. Who's a better wrestler?
I'll be honest.
He's just sitting there smiling.
I'll be honest. Zach is a better wrestler than me. However, I get him sometimes.
Yeah, she's got me a couple times.
I had to ask that.
Good. But that's the thing, when Taylor started wrestling, it's not how girls wrestling is now. Where in high school, girls only wrestle girls. When Taylor started wrestling in high school, she had to wrestle boys and girls, and there wasn't as many girls as there is now. So the majority of who she had to wrestle was boys.
So explain that a little bit, because I don't know a lot about wrestling, probably not a lot of people either that
Yeah.
watch this, but like, so was back in the day, was it co-ed? Was it boys and girls?
It was co-ed, but now,
It was male dominated, and girls were getting into it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
And now is it separated
girls
or?
wrestling is one of the highest growing sports in America today.
Mm-hmm.
It's booming and it's huge, but like I said back then, there wasn't as many girls. So, and I will say something. It's great watching two great wrestlers go
Mhm.
at it, wrestle, have a great match. It's fun watching that. But nothing beats seeing a girl go out there and put a boy on.
Oh, I was about to,
The crowd will roar.
I was about to say watching a girl put one of them in.
I remember
Dude.
one tournament, this kid was talking all kind of smack because he had to go against Taylor and stuff like that. Taylor went out there and it was a hard fought match, and Taylor threw him on his back and ended up pinning him.
Oh,
It was
dang.
great.
Heck yeah.
You just see the whole lineup with the other team like.
I think the greatest thing is watching that when the guy gets back up and just seeing the defeat look on their face and like, there goes you planned, did it, Bo?
Yeah, but back to like how me and Taylor met. So my senior year, I wouldn't really focus on like girls and nothing like that. I was focused on really doing well in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
But like Taylor said, sometimes we would be in like a 3-man speed drill.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this one time our coach put Taylor in our speed drill with me and another guy. The other guy was a pretty good wrestler too, but he was like sandbagging it, wasn't really like putting a whole bunch of effort into drilling, and I was really trying to do a lot my senior year to place high and reach the goals that I had placed.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember the first time I ever kind of like noticed Taylor, and something I really liked about her, because when we started drilling hard, she was putting that other dude in the dirt with her work ethic, and me and her were just going back at it, drilling.
And you
drilling.
feed off of each other when you find someone as passionate as you are at something, dude. Y'all become unstoppable. Y'all just start feeding off of each other. That's like at work with me and Chase. We'll start talking about something with the Bible. Poor Cody's in the middle, and he's like, "Y'all got to back up. Y'all about to both explode." We'll get. It's just when you find someone that has that same passion as you, stick with them.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
don't let that person go. Stick with them, and y'all. It's like iron sharpening iron, like we always say. I was like, just keep going with it.
Yeah.
And I'll say too, something that I'm very determined, I feel, and something that motivated me is, which, pride is something that I'll talk about a little bit because it's something I've always struggled with. But I remember one time, it was when I first started wrestling, this kid came up to me and he was like, "I'm going to work with you today because I want an easy day." And I was like,
Dang,
okay.
all right.
And that was probably the hardest practice I've ever had in my life. And so from that point on, I was like, I don't want people to look at me that way. Like, I want people to see, like, I'm here to be in the same, looked at the same way as them.
I'm a challenge. Don't look at me and think, oh, I'm going to have an easy day at practice day.
So I just wanted
that's a
I just wanted
backhanded
to show
compliment
it.
right there. Dang.
But yeah, you can keep going though.
And I just noticed as we were drilling and everything, I just really liked the work ethic and the passion that Taylor had that we brought up. And that was like one of the turning points of me experiencing that from Taylor and me thinking in my head, like, I really like that about Taylor.
Heck yeah.
That's when I kind of started getting interested.
Yeah.
And
Still finish out the season.
Zach just over there. Taylor just flipped the dude across the room. He's like, that's going to be my wife one day.
I like that.
I like that. I don't have to have any firearms in the house.
Yeah.
that's funny.
Oh, Lord. So when y'all, of course, when y'all met and everything and going through your relationship, did wrestling, of course, play a huge role in y'all's whole relationship?
Oh yeah, it's a part of our life. I mean, everything that we do now, like, we cut off things when wrestling season comes around because it's our life.
Dude,
it's our
I was
passion.
been talking to Zach forever about the podcast. He's like, I got wrestling this, I got this, I got a tournament. I was like, dude, whenever y'all get it, the same thing with Will. I'm trying to get Will on the podcast, and bless his heart, dude. He's like, I got this. I'm like, hey, don't apologize to me. When y'all are passionate about something and you're chasing it, thumbs up. That is awesome. I love seeing people chase after what they want to do and actually achieve it and keep going with it. What y'all are doing is amazing.
Thank you.
So this is kind of a two-part question, but how did wrestling really shape both of your leadership style, and how do you pass that on to the athletes that you're working with now? How do they take what your leadership skills are and you pass on to you, so maybe one day they can be a coach, or one day can continue to carry on what you taught them into Olympics or something.
Yeah, this is a quote that I always tell people, and I always say that wrestling has taught me one thing about life, that everything's going to be tough and nothing's going to be fair. Because that's just true. I mean, of course, you have good moments, but you just have to learn how to like persevere and push through those, hard times. And I think that's a big part of like my coaching style, is just teaching people like how to go out and attack something, because at some point you're going to have to face it. And I feel like that's just a big part of who I am. And there's this quote by a big time wrestler, Jordan Burroughs. If anyone knows wrestling, they know this guy. He said, that wrestlers are a direct reflection of their coach. And if you see tough wrestlers, then you know that they have a pretty tough coach.
Tough coach.
And so it's almost like I want to help these, girls and sometimes boys, because we have girls and boys on our youth team. It's like I want to help them get to reach their full potential, because I believe in them. I mean, we always tell them, you go out there and you can beat anybody.
Yeah.
Of course, they're going to go against someone who's undefeated and never lost. But as a coach, like, I don't think, they're about to get, smashed. Like, they're going to go out there and wrestle hard, and who knows, an opportunity might arise and they might flip and put someone on their back. I mean, when I was at the state tournament this past year for the girls, there were so many people that were predicted to win and they lost. I mean, you just never know what can happen. So that's just my thing, is I want the kids to reach their full potential.
And it's like with any sport, but I feel like with wrestling, because I tried to do some research, watch some videos before I had you on, probably looked at all the wrong stuff. But with wrestling, it's just like you're looking for that opportunity, and it can present itself at any moment. Like football, you're looking for gaps, you're looking for holes, you're out there with a lot of other people though. But in wrestling, it's you. It depends on you. You are the one that's going to call the plays. You're the one that's going to score the points. You're the one that's going to win the match. There's no one else out there but you and your coach.
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, other than that, your teammates are your teammates too. I get that. But all the other sports, you're working together. But this one, it's you versus your enemy and your coach.
Yeah,
and I like wrestling because you can look at that as a biblical point too.
Yeah, for sure.
It's me versus the world, and my coach God tell me what to do next.
That's a great point.
And I really like that correlation. Kind of like, I know y'all have heard the story a million times because it's about wrestling, but Abraham wrestling, some people believe it was an angel, some people believe it was God. But he said, I will continue wrestling until you bless me. And that's when it touched his hip, messed up his hip a little bit. But he's like, I'm not going to let go until you bless me. And I feel like that's how you kind of have to look at life. And I look at life like that too. I forgot the fancy quote and who said it, but the gist of the quote was, don't trust a knight with shiny armor. He's not battle ready. He's not battle tested.
Yeah.
I want my armor to be completely tested throughout my life. I want the cuts. I want the scrapes. I want the rust. That's the guy that when all hell breaks loose, I'm going towards that guy. Not the dude with the new sword, the fancy gold-plated armor. That dude over there knows what he's doing. He's been tested and he's been proven. And that's the same thing I see in wrestling, is even if you do lose, you're taking something back from that.
Yeah.
And you're going to try and prove that the next round. And I actually have a new respect for the sport.
Yeah.
So
It's really hard. I mean, one of the hardest things for me to witness is kids will come up after a match and, just hit their head into your chest because they're so sad and they got tears rolling down their eyes. And it's really hard when they're like, I've been working so hard and I'm just still not reaching my goal. And that's going to happen,
And that's what the Bible teaches. It talks about God will allow you to keep failing because that's going to prove endurance. And endurance is going to be what's going to keep you through those tough days. Jordan Peterson talks about this. I hate when people say this, and he does too, where someone says, well, I ask you, what's your goal? And you say, I want to be happy. Okay, I didn't ask you what feeling you wanted your whole life. Happiness is a feeling. It's a fleeting moment. It's meant to come and go. It's not going to stay. Because what's going to happen is when those rain clouds come and they start raining down and pouring down on you and you don't feel happy, guess what? You're going to give up now because you're like, well, I'm not happy. None of this makes me happy. But you're chasing a feeling. You actually have to have a real goal. So how do you deal with that, and what do you say to those kids when they do lose? What would you say is harder, the first match you lose, or when you get really good, like you got like 6 or 7 winning streaks, and then boom, all of a sudden you hit a wall and you lose?
I actually feel like I have a good way to answer this. So there's this girl that is on the wrestling team. It was her senior year this past year, so she's graduated now. And I've had the opportunity to be a part of her entire wrestling journey. And so when at the state tournament, she was predicted to be in the finals match. I mean, she had beaten all of these girls that she had to wrestle, and she had like a perfect bracket, like the bracket system, she was on the perfect side of it. So she had the returning state champion on the opposite side. So they would meet each other at the end. And it honestly just worked out perfectly. And she won her first ones, and she was getting into her match to go into the semifinals. It was her semifinals match to go into the finals. And she ended up losing to a girl that she had beaten the previous weekend. And that was really hard. It was really hard on her. So I'll say, like, when they lose those matches at the end, it's really difficult. And so when you have a semifinal match, you immediately drop down into the consolation round. So immediately you're going right after that match. So she didn't really have time to process. She didn't have time to, reset herself. So she went against another girl she had already beaten, and she ended up losing to her too. And when you lose 2 times, you're done in the tournament for the most part. She wasn't, because she had a placing match for 5th and 6th. So she did have one more match. But then her last match, it was a girl that she had gone back and forth with her entire career, and the girl ended up getting injured, so she didn't even get to have her last match. Her point of view is, okay, I've lost these 2 matches, and then this one I won off a forfeit. I didn't even get to go out there and do anything. And so that was really hard on her, because she's excited that her goal for the year was to place higher than what she did the previous year. So she did that. She went one.
But she don't feel like she earned it.
Exactly. So I feel like that is really hard. But one thing that we talked about a lot is, like, this is just a sport. And at the end of the day, it's like the lessons that you're learning from this is what's going to help you in life. And her father is also the coach, and he's a great guy and has great, like, perspectives. And I get a lot from him, and I'm probably telling her the same things that he tells her, but it's her dad. She doesn't want to.
Yeah, she's like, that dad's saying that.
But I don't really remember the beginning of the question, but
you're good.
It's
you're
hard.
good.
The ending, losing, like going throughout and losing at the end.
And losing
is
at
hard.
the end, because everybody wants that Rocky Balboa ending where you're the champion, you're on top of the world and everything, but they don't make a movie where you lose, and
you have the mindset that, okay, I can go out and win the next one.
Yeah.
If you lose at the beginning.
And that's what I've talked to a bunch of people, and I want to continue this, because there's the Mount Everest. I forgot the correct term for it, but it's like the Mount Everest syndrome, where you train your whole life. What's better, to train your whole life, achieve your goal, and have nothing after it, or fail at the goal and be able to continue to get better and improve to attack that goal again? So a lot of people will go train their whole life, climb Mount Everest, they're at the top, they're enjoying it, they're high on life, and everything's going great. And then they start to descent down. By the time they get to the bottom, they're depressed. They're like, what do I do now? I've based my whole life on this. And what's really helped me with that is, once I achieve a goal, of course, make another one, but also be like, that's another dent in my armor. That's another slash on my plate that shows that, hey, I've been through this. And I think that's what God's doing. He's constantly forcing you to improve by giving you battles and to test you. Because it's funny when you talk to like a psychologist or theologist, and you really just sit there and really go over this. What's a good life? Is it a life that I got to eat ice cream all the time, I sat at home, watch TV, and everything's fine? Or a life that, like, man, I went through some shit and I got dragged through the mud, but I'm still standing. And God's dragged me through it, but he also was still there holding his hand out saying, I'm here with you.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to sit there and actually answer what's a good life.
Yeah.
I really like the story of, like Jordan, to bring up Jordan Burroughs again. He's won multiple gold Olympic medals in wrestling and stuff like that. And he talks about how, even though he was chasing for the gold so bad, after he would win the gold, he would still feel empty inside. Like
Mhm.
he had to start picking it up and go chase
Yes.
something else and chase something else. And he said in his speech that it was until he filled that hole in his heart with Jesus and God that he finally felt comfort with what he was doing, and he felt satisfaction with what he has accomplished. Even though he the best in the world, winning gold medals, and still feel empty inside.
Yes.
Without Jesus and without God in his heart.
And that's what really helped me. After I'll achieve one thing, I got to do the next thing. I got to do the next thing. It's like I was trying to find something to fill that hole, and it wasn't until I finally opened this book and I actually was like, read it, understand it, talk to God, actually talk to Him like a real person. Don't just recite the same prayer over and over again when you're eating dinner. Bless this food, nourish my body. That's what food does. You don't have to ask Him to do that.
Yeah.
Actually talk to Him. Explain to Him what's going on in your life. Explain what you need help with. What you need to see. Why am I going through this? What are you trying to show me? What are you trying to teach me?
That's something every year for FCA we have a theme, and this past year the theme was glory, and the big question is, what are you chasing? You know, because as an athlete you're always chasing that championship, or you know, whatever it is, or getting to the next level to play. And when we don't reach those, or we do and then we feel like dissatisfied, it's like, what are you truly chasing? You know, being able to put the glory in God's name rather than the things that we want.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There was a famous golfer to just won. I don't know nothing about golf. Y'all don't get mad at me. He won some big tournament, like one of the biggest ones you can have. He won it, and in his interview, I if I can remember his name, I'll put it in the comments. But he literally was telling the interviews, like, you know, how do you feel, blah blah. And he's like, it's great for 20 minutes, but in an hour we're gonna be arguing about where we're going to dinner. In a day we're gonna go home, fold laundry. He said, this is great. I spent my whole life getting really good at a sport and everything, but this doesn't help society. This doesn't improve humanity. And he literally just breaks it down, like how everyone feels. So everyone looks at like these great athletes that accomplish these great stuff, and they're like, I got to find something next now. I got to find something to dedicate my life to. And I just listen to him say that. Like in the back of my head, I'm just like, Jesus, you need Jesus. Go towards Jesus. I was like, and that's what felt my heart was going towards that. But so after talking about how you and Zach met, how wrestling shaped both of y'all, can you tell me how you came to know Jesus?
Yeah.
What was it? Was it something that started in your childhood, or was this a specific moment later he really stepped into your life and just kick-started your journey with faith?
Yeah. So, you know, like I said, I was involved in church and stuff, and I always had a little Bible, and I had those books I would read. So I always knew, I always knew that He was there, but I was really more living, just doing what I want to do, living my best life, stuff like that. And so when I was in high school, I was on the wrestling team, and this was when I was a sophomore. We had an FCA character coach on our team. So it was someone who would come and, speak about character traits, talk about the Bible when, he was available to, and, just disciple us and get to lead Bible studies, all this sort of stuff. And so one day I was running, we were warming up, and I just felt heavy. I had a lot of stuff going on at home, and I was in a really bad place. And there was just something that I was struggling with, and so I was running around and just didn't feel worthy, didn't feel like I was meant for this life, And so I was running, and I started, crying a little bit, and I just had a lot of emotion on my face. And this coach, he sees me, he's standing around talking to all the other coaches, and he just looks over and he sees me, and so he walks over and he says, come here. And so I got off the mat, and we went and sat up in the bleachers, and he just sat down and talked to me. He just gave me time, and just he was like, here, I'll get you out of warm-ups. And so he was just sitting there talking to me, asking me what was going on, and he truly just showed me that he cared about me, and he didn't even know me. And so that was just interesting to me. So I really wanted to get to know a little bit more about him, because I'd just never been seen like I had in that moment. And so Our relationship continues to grow, mine and that coach's. He starts doing this like leadership training for the wrestling team. I think it was in the mornings. Yeah, he would do them in the mornings. Zach would actually go to those as well. And so he would do those, and then he started inviting me to FCA. My friends in freshman year asked me to go, but I didn't really know what it was.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I'm good.
I think we had it when I was in high school, and I
Yeah.
regret not. I was the same like you. I was like, I know God's real, I know Jesus is, but I never really took that leap.
Yeah.
I've heard of FCA a thousand, but it wasn't until Zach started talking about all the stuff you do with them that I was like, that sounds really
For
interesting.
people
Yeah.
that don't know what SCA is, it's a Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It's a way that through sports and athleticism that coaches can get in there and kind of speak through the sport to show them how God moves through them, and using sports and athleticism as kind of like a catalyst to get a lot of messages across.
And I like that y'all are doing that because you said it. He came there and was talking about character, and I wanted to put a pin in that because there's a famous preacher that just passed away. I have to write these names down. I'll figure out his name later. But he was talking about that. There was not saying skip football practice, and you make an obligation, you promise to be there, you better be there. You worship God every single day of your life. By every time you do something, you do it 100%. You say, this is for you, God. There's a reason why you're there, and then there's a reason why you're doing stuff at that moment there. But, you know, they were skipping church a lot, and the preacher went up, he's like, what's going on? He's like, oh, my son's playing baseball. Okay, well, we got Wednesday service, we got this. No, he let it consume his whole life. And the dad was like, no, he's got a traveling team, he's going to make it far, blah, 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 blah. He's like, well, you know, I'm his preacher, I want to make sure he's making it even farther and then to eternity. And he's like, well, I think baseball's really good. It shows good leadership and character and everything. And the preacher just kind of looked at him and was like, you can look on any TV right now at the pros in football, the pros in baseball, how are their characters? How many are getting arrested? How many of them are freaking stealing stuff? He's like, none of them look like they got good character traits. So when you said that he was coming there to teach y'all about character, dude, that's awesome.
That is our goal with FCA. The vision is to see the world transform through the influence of coaches and athletes. So that is our mission with FCA, is to, you know, help these coaches and athletes grow in a relationship and then be able to go out and do it themselves.
And it really touches close to home because it's kind of like what Taylor's story of how she used every FCA. I share the same story. I was brought up and I knew Jesus. My mom always prayed with us and stuff like that, but we never really went to church like that. We didn't have a community like that. And I remember our coach and the SCA coach both pouring into us. And I remember every day after practice, the coach would put us in the huddle and say, if you want to, you don't have to, but we can finish off the practice saying the Lord's Prayer with each other. And to this day, that is the only reason why I know the Lord's Prayer.
Lord's Prayer.
Before I seen it ever in the Bible, I was saying that with my fellow teammates, all in the huddle, learning the Lord's Prayer and coming together. And that is just putting the puzzle pieces together and with FCA and just showing how much of the sport and how much faith and how combined those things can be. I knew how important FCA is and how important it pushes not only me and my experiences in life and Taylor's, but how it can push all these other kids at a younger level that might not have that in their life, kind of like me and Taylor did.
And that's it's amazing what y'all doing, because first off, you said that if you want to come say the Lord's Prayer, come or don't, you're giving them a choice. And that's
student led.
And that's amazing, because a lot of people, God gave us free will. Everybody wants to sit there and argue, why would a good and loving God create hell? Well, if you give someone free will and they decide, I created this house, I created both of y'all. Y'all say y'all don't like me, you don't want to be around me. Okay, you have to get out of my house then. I gave you that choice. That's why hell's there. Hell's a fair place. If you want a fair God, the fair place you go to is hell. If you want a God that loves you and cares for you and is unfair, heaven is where you would go. So if you don't want to be in the presence with God, there's no other place you can go that God's presence isn't there. He's all around us. He's here 24/7 with us. So the only other place you can go where his presence is not going to be at would be hell.
Yeah.
So he gives you free will, and that's amazing that coach was like, hey, if you want to, you can. Because there's a lot of places that when you try to force somebody to do it, they're automatically going to resent it. They automatically don't want to be a part of it. They automatically are like, you're trying to force your religion on the bubble. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Especially kids, teenagers, and stuff.
For sure. That's how all FCA is, like when we speak and stuff like that. That is like a cornerstone of what we talk about. Like, you do not have to be involved in this, but if you want to, you are welcome.
Yeah.
I like that.
And we also like make it to where if we talk specifically about character, that's something everyone's a part of. And when we wear our FCA shirts, when we wear Jesus Loves You, like they know where all of that's coming from.
Yeah.
And you know, we don't always have to open the Bible and share something specific because we don't want someone to feel uncomfortable. But when they see who we represent, then that puts it in their mind.
Have y'all
like,
had, y'all ever had like parents like get mad that y'all are there?
Yeah,
or?
FCA has, you know, had its struggles. There was one time that, this wasn't necessarily like an FCA thing, but there was a few years ago, a coach was praying with the football team after, and people got really mad about that, trying to get him fired, all this stuff. I mean, of course there's going to be that stuff, you know, but you just got to pray that.
You got to keep going. Devil's always going to come after you at any shot that he can take.
Yeah.
Is there, so y'all, we talked about how y'all give them the option to come, and that's amazing, and I love that y'all do that. And just to have the understanding that some of these kids might be in a situation with their family that they don't have the opportunity to go to church. They don't have the opportunity to go buy a Bible, but they have an opportunity at the schools that they can, by free will, come to y'all and talk to y'all. Have y'all had that happen?
Well, it's crazy. Like when you look at the numbers, I can't remember, but this was not long ago. The numbers were like almost very close to 100%. There's a lot of kids that don't go to church, that don't really know a lot about church. There's actually a lot. And something that we see is people will come because even if they don't realize it, they're eager for something. And so they're coming and they're being a part of all of these things. And, you know, it's just an opportunity for them. You know, they may come to get a chicken biscuit in the morning. We have huddles where we bring them breakfast. They may come just for that, but they're staying for something a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that plays a big part into my story too, is like what FCA is really a doorway for Jesus to come into the hearts of everyone.
I like that.
And so when I was, you know, struggling and that coach came up and talked to me, like eventually he just kept pursuing me. And I know he was just being faithful to God, telling him to keep pursuing that kid. But he eventually sent me to this camp one summer. I can't remember if it was the summer of my sophomore year or junior year. My mind's running together.
You're good.
But he sent me to this camp, and the goal of the camp was to break you down physically so that you could be built up spiritually by Jesus. And so that's exactly what happened. I mean, that camp was rough. That was
it?
The work. It was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Like wrestling practice, but 24/7.
Oh my
goodness. God.
They would wake you up at 5. I remember there was this one night we were on the field doing, it was called, what was it called? It was called like field day or something like that. And every single 10-yard line, they had a workout you had to do for a certain amount of time. So we did that. We did all these crazy things. And then when it got to like 12 or 1 in the morning, they were like, okay, go back to your place, and depending on how you placed in these challenges, you have to wake up at a certain time tomorrow. And we had to wake up at like 4:45.
Oh,
because we
Lord.
we were the first group that got there because you had like a run. But when we started doing the challenges and stuff, we did not do that great. So we had to get up.
Join the military. They just didn't tell y'all.
It was so hard. But on the last night, I was so broken down because I was like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. I don't like this. And so I was sitting there, and this kid got up and he shared his testimony, and he shared about, I feel like I could connect to him on a lot of the stuff that he shared. He definitely had a much harder life than I did.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to get to hear his perspective was, even though all of these things happened to me, I knew that God was with me, and he was walking through it with me. And he had a greater purpose through the things that happened in my life. And so when I heard that, something just clicked. And I started getting really emotional. And luckily the lights were down and we were about to start worship. And I remember I had my head down, had my hair in front of my face, and I was just crying. And I just felt like a big old hug. And I like opened my eyes and looked around because I used to not be super big on people hugging me. And I got up and I looked around.
She about to yell at someone, get off.
But nobody hugged me. Nobody was even looking at me. They were all hands up in the air praising.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I literally felt like it was Jesus that embraced me. And in that moment, I began to cry even more. And I just, hearing that kid's story, hearing what the pastor was sharing each night, and then feeling that embrace, it just changed everything for me.
That's
and
awesome.
I knew from that moment that I wanted to live my life for Christ. And so when I came back, that was my goal. And of course, I encountered things that, may have gotten me off track or whatever. But from that moment, I just completely flipped and wanted to live my life for Him and bring other people to get to experience what it means to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful moment.
I think you did a good job. For the people that don't know Taylor, she's a great speaker. She speaks at huddles. She speaks in front of whole middle school and stuff like that. I know I like to talk and I like to speak. So I'm a coach. I speak in front of coaches and I speak in front of athletes and stuff when I coach and I talk about the sport of wrestling and God on the days that we talk about that. But Taylor, she blows it out of the water. So a little shout out to her.
Just watching her talk about this, you can see the passion. And that dude, it's amazing how you can speak because you really dig into people's hearts. You're getting to me right now, just how you're talking. You're great. And I think you're right where you need to be at where God's sending you. So
I
that's
believe it.
awesome.
I mean, when I went to college, I prayed about what I wanted to do. I was studying Christian ministry, but God just opened up the door for me to come back home and work with FCA. And so I felt that call, and the guy who was my character coach is now my boss. It's a full circle moment. And he called me and he was like, hey, I think we're going to have a position in the next year. And COVID happened, so I was not at college anymore and just figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. And I was like, you know what? Like I said earlier, FCA opened the door for Jesus to come into my heart and change my life. And my life would not be the same today if I hadn't talked to that coach or had those moments. And I got involved in a church that we still go to. And it's a beautiful thing because Zach and I got to go to church together. We got to get baptized together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Our life is completely changed because of a simple moment like that when he came into my heart, Zach's heart, and just getting to grow together.
That's why no one ever knows. I'll just be walking down the street or something, or I go get a haircut or something. Someone just simply says I used to be a big believer in no, you can't wear crosses or t-shirts or something like that has a false image. It says in the Bible, don't hold on to images of heaven or earth. But that's don't worship those. I'll wear this little bracelet or this shirt because it introduces just a quick icebreaker. Hey man, I like that shirt. Oh, cool. Do you go to church? And then we can get to talking. Right. And that dude saw a girl running around on the mat upset, and that Holy Spirit tugged at that string, was like, hey, go talk to her. And he had no idea what fire he just lit. He put that little spark there, and you kept blowing it until it turned into a big fire. Now look where you're at. Now you're doing the same thing he's doing. You're lighting little sparks for that to continue on. And that's where I love to tell people, I'm like, if I could, I would go to every church, and someone's going to clip this and be like, what is he talking about? I want to rip those walls down from the church. I want to rip every church down. Everybody's like, what do you mean by that, Fury? I'm like, church is not those 4 freaking walls. It's not a location. It's the people in the church. Y'all are outside the church in the battlefield showing people Jesus Christ and God Almighty.
Don't want to come to church? We'll bring church to you.
Yeah, I was like that dude, don't run from me. I'm going to tell you about Jesus Christ.
It's beautiful, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We obviously see kids that aren't athletes, but when you look out on a baseball field on a Sunday, they're packed full. So when you have the opportunity to say, hey, this guy's going to come talk about character, and open the opportunity to say the Lord's Prayer, and open the opportunity to, hey, let's read the Bible together. It's beautiful to see how it's just a way in, and it's amazing. That's why I love working with FCA, because it's a calling. And I mean, another thing that's crazy about FCA is we completely raise our support. We don't get funded by FCA at all. FCA actually gets a portion of what we bring in. And it's literally like when Jesus and his disciples would go somewhere, they would have to get what they needed.
Figure it out.
Exactly.
I talked about that in one of my podcasts. I'm about to flip the table because I'm excited that you said that. I was talking about one of my other podcasts. I'm like, dude, I want this to be a raw experience. And we need to go back to the disciples. They were walking on dirty roads. Yeah. They were walking with no money. They had just the clothes in their back. They didn't know where they were going to sleep. They didn't know what their next meal was. They had to depend on complete freaking strangers.
No money.
Had nothing.
Yeah.
And they were still doing the Lord's will.
Yeah, and it holds me accountable because I don't know what I'm going to walk up and a kid's going to say to me.
Yeah.
So I have to like be ready with my sword. I have to know like how to disciple them. I have to ask God for the wisdom. I mean, I don't want people to only come to me like you were saying earlier about what does this mean? I don't understand this. But I also want to pray that God would give me the wisdom to be able to lead that person.
And
then they can be like, oh yeah, well, she didn't get that wisdom just from herself or studying. I got the wisdom from talking to the Lord.
And
so
you'll be amazed
in that way.
That sometimes when a little kid comes up to you or anybody asks you a question and you start digging in there to give them the answer, it's teaching you too.
For sure.
I literally had it was my sister's boss called me, my sister called me. She said, hey, my boss has a question and she heard that you do a Christian podcast. I was like, sure, what's up? And she said, hey, who's Jesus? And I was like, I almost fell out of my chair. I'm like, huh? And I was kind of thrown back. My brain's like, we have this whole book. What do we start with? And I'm like, what do you mean, honey? And she's just like, well, I'm Jewish and I've never heard of Jesus or any of that. And I almost started bawling my eyes out. I started telling her all this stuff. And she asked one of the greatest questions I've ever been asked by anybody throughout my whole experience with God. I explained everything. I explained he died on the cross for you. He did this. He's the Son of God. And she asked, like, what's the kingdom of heaven? I explained that. And then at the end of the conversation, she asked, well, I'm about 41 years old. Is it too late for me? I said, no. It took me a minute. She literally had to say, like, hello. I was like, hang on, I'm about to start crying. I was like, there was a thief on the cross that was dying next to Jesus on the day that Jesus was being crucified. And Jesus said, you'll be with me in paradise. If that guy probably only had a couple breaths left, Jesus still saved him, you still have time to be saved too.
You didn't have to be baptized. You
didn't do any of that.
All the thief told him was, he said that, I believe that you'll be in the kingdom of heaven. Do not forget about me.
Do not forget about me.
He said,
in that one statement, he's showing that is the Son of God.
Yeah.
And he does not deserve what's happening to him. Those are the two statements that he said while Jesus was on the cross. And he said, you'll be with me in paradise today. So
I love that. I mean, that's what Romans 10:13 says. For those who call on my name, they will be saved.
Yes.
I mean, Zach has a powerful story about his relationship with his uncle. And his uncle lived a life that, didn't follow Jesus. But we didn't know it was about to be the end of his life. But at the end of his life, he started going to church. He started talking to Zach about the Bible and getting
just to kind of give a description of my uncle. Kind of like a little bit of a gangbanger.
Was that the one in prison?
No.
Okay.
That's the other brother.
Okay.
The same person.
Oh.
The same name,
You've talked to me about him a couple times.
Tattoos everywhere. Got skull tattoos on his hand. A pistol tattoo on his other hand. And all of a sudden, he went through a hard time in his life. And he called me up one day. I didn't even want to answer the phone because I thought he was going to start asking me for something. But he was so heartbroken.
I have those family members, I understand.
Yeah, he was so heartbroken going through stuff. More of the story, I was like, well, you can come sleep on the couch for a couple days and figure stuff out. But the one thing that you need to do that will make you feel better, so it doesn't matter where, just open the Bible and start reading. God will speak to you in that. I remember after I got off the phone with him and I remember praying to God, I was like, all right, God, I did my part. Now it's time for you to show up for him, and that's what he did. God showed up for him. He really spoke through him, and he kind of like did a big 180. Started going to church. I never thought I would see my Uncle Jason in church.
He'd be there before us.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And like he has like 9, 10 different kids with like 8 different women. Like he he lived a pretty reckless life up to this point, and then he kind of like did a big 180, having a lot of faith, believing in God, and 6 months from that point, he got in a car wreck, hit a tree, and ended up passing away shortly after that, and it kind of the veil was kind of lifted on how God put me in that situation, and then how I was kind of like a seed throwing it to him for him to grow and have that turning point, which is great, and kind of
That's amazing.
what we all try to do as like disciples and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's
awesome.
a beautiful thing too, is like his Uncle Jason knew Zach growing up. He knew everything about him, everything that he may have done and gotten in trouble or any mistakes Zach had made. But he still viewed him as, oh, that dude loves Christ. And so that dude's a good person. Like, I need to get something from him. Like, I need to talk to him because I know that he will lead me in the right direction. And that's like the tension for us, is we can be in that moment where, like Zach, someone calls on us and we could just hang up the phone and be like, I don't want to talk to him. He's going to ask me for money or ask me for something. I'm going to just ignore it. Like, we have to be available. We have to be interruptible to say, like, I'm going to work. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not trying to talk to you. But to say, you know what, I'm going to answer the phone. I just feel like I need to. And then Zach continuing to disciple him, to call him back, to say, hey, why don't you come over? Hey, what did you read? What did God say to you? Like, that's the thing. Some of us, we really need Jesus in our life, and we just don't have him yet. And then there's also those other people who have to be faithful to the call. Like, God's going to say, hey, this person needs me, but they need you to help them get there. And so that's a beautiful thing. I tell this story all the time to kids, is like, some of us are on the side where Jason is, where we need something, we need Jesus, we need to know him. And then some of us are on the side where Zach is, where we have to be faithful. Like, people aren't going to get to come to him if we don't just say something.
And just being available for that person. And that saying, I've done it before. I've had someone call and I'm like, man, I really don't want to talk about this, or I don't want to talk to this person right now. And we get so caught up on life. I have to sit back all the time and say, hey, why are you here? I'm like, for Jesus. To do God's will. Okay, do it. Quit focusing on the toys, the PS5, this and that. We're not here for any of that. That's junk. It's all going to burn in the end. Marcus Aurelius said the greatest thing ever, none of this is mine anyway. And like, every single thing I don't think he said it to that degree. He said it fancier. But none of this is mine. You're just a steward. The Bible explained to us we're a steward. Everything we have, God's given us to borrow for a little time. King Solomon says your life is like a water vapor. It's there for a second and then it's gone. This is the shortest time you're going to exist or be around or do anything. So don't sit there and focus on all the little stuff or focus on this and that. It's the people. The people are the church. And you're trying to make Jesus' bride, which is the church, expand. You're trying to make it bigger. You're trying to bring in more people. You're trying to grab as many people's feet or hands before they get drugged down that you can. And I don't want to sit there before my Creator and he says, I sent you. I said, who shall I send? And you said, send me. And then you didn't do anything. You stayed there playing on a PS5 or you sat there washing your new Corvette or something. I don't want to sit there and say that. I want to sit there and say, I gave it everything I could possibly.
And I think everybody falls victim of both sides of that story.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
There's a good side of like me in that story that I did answer that phone, but trust me, there's plenty of times
Where you didn't
I
answer.
didn't
Yep.
that phone, and then there's plenty of people in my life that I wish I would have answered that phone. And then after the whole Jason situation with my uncle, kind of like hindsight is 2020, where I look and thought like, what a blessing it is to be able to be a vessel of God and a part of God's story within other people.
For sure.
But before, so there. Is there any way I could use the restroom?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'll pause it. All right, we're back from the bathroom break. So,
one thing I do want to say, just what we were talking about, is if you look and you read through Jesus and his ministry, he was very interruptible. You know, and people would say, why are you talking to them? Like, hey, we have to get to this place. But he would stop. He would say, you know what, I feel like I got to go this way, this different route. Because he was interruptible. He was people-oriented. And a lot of times, we may be doing something good. We may be doing something for the kingdom. But a lot of times, we get so task-oriented and focused on those things, checking stuff off, getting them done, that we are not being people oriented and saying, did I even look at that person? Did I even say hello to this person? And I'm just walking past them, getting my stuff done,
100%.
and not taking time to be people oriented.
And not taking any time to even say good morning to somebody. Zach will vouch. I'm not a morning person. Zach,
I think you are a lot better of a morning person now than
I was not a happy person I would say, a year ago or 2 years ago.
Oh, I'd say about 2 years
It
ago.
took me like 2 or 3 hours in the morning to get where I could talk to people. And that's very important. And if you look at Jesus' ministry while he was going around with his disciples, they didn't just stay in one location. That's what drives me crazy. Everyone thinks, oh, I'll go to church where God and Jesus is at. They're not in that building. They're with you 24/7. They go with you. So why do you go to one building, worship him for an hour barely, and then in your mind leave him there and then get in the car and continue doing whatever it is you're doing? He goes with you. He's with you 24/7. So act like it. Be like it. Pray to him in the car. Pray to him in the morning. Pray to him in the afternoon. It says pray continuously without ceasing. Never stop. And that's why I think it's so important what y'all are doing with FCA. But
also too, I feel like ministry, anyone can do ministry from any position that they're at in life. Like,
yes.
I love getting to talk to Chase, who y'all work with. You had him on here before.
Oh yeah.
Like, he knows, like, hey, I work at what is his position? Is he a welder?
He's a paneler.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's the lead. Yeah, he's the lead on paneling.
So he's
team.
like, I'm going to work. I'm paneling, whatever.
I don't know what the correct. I think it's paneling, right?
Yeah.
Insulation paneling or something like that.
But he says, but I'm going to share the word today, or I'm going to be loving to someone. Like, through whatever you do on a daily basis, you can still do ministry. You just have to make sure, like, Jesus is guiding you and being the pinpoint of all of it.
And this is the only time. I knew Chase before he even got into that. I remember when you went to the West Georgia Tech Black Tie Boot Event with Chase.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember getting in the car, and my wife was like, that guy's wild. And then, like, I would have him over or whatever, and my wife came up, she's like, what happened to him? I was like, he found Jesus.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that dude's gripped on to Jesus harder than anybody else.
Yeah.
I was like, and it's amazing. I've never seen anything else in life that changed somebody that hardcore. And that's why I'm like, when someone, I was like, I wish I could offload all the evidence I have and hand it to you in a USB drive for you to plug it in your head. Because I have not seen anything else in this life that has more evidence than what I've seen.
Yeah, Chase is a great example. Cause, like,
He's an awesome example.
I've been doing ministry with Taylor within FCA volunteering for so long. Man, when I talk to Chase, I learned so much from Chase because he's knows deep into the Bible all the time. He's so intellectual about what he knows. You can see it just not from his intellect and what he reads in the Bible, but through his own relationship with God is where he shines, and it speaks through him. And he's like a great leader. He leads our Bible study at work, and he's great about it. I keep telling him all the time, I'm like, dude, you should be a pastor.
He's awesome. He would be amazing at it. He's a great guy.
Sure.
So going back to like the FCA, what kind of drew you in to start working with him? Was it the coach that talked to you that time that you talked about?
Yeah, definitely that. And also when I was at my church, I started volunteering with youth. And I don't know, I just have such a passion for kids that are around that age. But I mean, I have a passion for every age. I mean, because we get to work with kids that are elementary school, and then I typically every week get to work with kids that are high school. And I feel like high school is such an important age because they're getting ready for their whole life to change. You know, like they're going to step out into
It's where they're shaping
their own
who they
world.
are.
Exactly. And I mean, if they start being in the Word and having those encounters with Jesus early on, I'm just confident that that will hopefully help them in the long run. Because there's a lot more life to be lived after high school. So if I can just do what God calls me to in those 4 years to help them, and it's beautiful that we're in middle schools now. Like, it's so cool to see. We're also in elementary schools now, which is cool.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, next year, our upcoming 9th graders will have been a part of FCA since they were in 6th grade. And so that is going to be cool to see just the shift. And I mean, the younger generation's coming up. So if we can just do what we can to get Jesus to be the head of their lives, I feel like that's going to impact people for the future.
And it's so, I cannot tell y'all, number one, thank y'all. Because I do not see enough people chasing after the younger people that's going to be the next generation that's going to have to teach the next generation. Go to any church. there's only a handful of churches that I've seen that actually have a very good youth program. Look, this happens throughout history. You're going to have the kindergarten and middle schoolers coming to church with their parents.
Mm-hmm.
What is missing in the church? The high schoolers to the college, they're not there. Every church I go to, it's young kids. I would say, parents coming around the ages between 25 and 30 with their kids, and then you got the elderly, and then that's it. You don't see anyone in there from 18 to about, I would say, maybe like 22, 25. Mm-hmm. They're all out in the world learning everything the world's trying to teach them, and that's our enemy. That's who we don't want to teach them. Mm-hmm. And y'all are actually going to these kids, to the school, to actually say, hey, before you get out in that crap and you learn all this damaging stuff to you that's going to take you down the wrong path, listen to me. I want to show y'all this. So y'all are doing extremely important work, and I hope y'all realize that, because that is amazing.
I appreciate that, but all in all glory to God. I mean, I'd be lying if I would say I feel worthy enough to be able to go out there and speak like I do to these kids and be the example, but it's God that has moved through me and Taylor and moved us to those positions.
Amen.
I don't think I'd be able to do it without him.
Also, something that I think is just as important, honestly, if not more important than being around the youth, is men. Because there's a study, and I wish I would have looked up on these studies.
I do the same thing. I'll look up everything the night before, and I'll get here and be like,
but there's a study that says if you have a household and the mother says, hey, let's go to church, I think it's 40%. The kids are likely to go with the mother. Mm-hmm. But if the father says, hey, let's go to church, it's 90 or 100%. They're going to go to church. And so I feel like it's important to disciple young men. Mm-hmm. I try to let a male, obviously, disciple the young men. Mm-hmm. But to disciple the young men to go out there and grow up and be the heads of their household and be able to lead their children, I think it's honestly super important.
That is, you are 100% right, because for the fact of, I will always, because I've explained it to my wife, and I told her it's the men's fault. It's 100% the men. Throughout all of America, it's 100% the men's fault, because we have dropped the ball being the head of the church and the household, and the women have had to take that position on. Yeah. And y'all are doing an amazing job. Y'all are doing the best job. We need to get our crap together, because
that's a little bit of blame on the women still.
But I mean, there's so many fathers, there's so many dads, and they don't realize how big of an influence they are. And I've taught my wife this a million times. I was like, we are equals. Do not sit there, but I have a different role than you. The hierarchy that the Bible explains: Jesus Christ, I am a servant to Jesus Christ. I'm the head of the household. The wife is with me, and then the children are below. They always want to, wife here, children here, Jesus somewhere here, the dog, the Corvette, maybe a house plant, and the husband's down here somewhere. I was like, we have dropped the ball, and the only way we're going to get back on it is how the Bible teaches, is men need to take the households back over, do what they're supposed to be doing, quit getting involved with all these stupid hobbies. We can play cornhole on Sunday after church. You don't need to do it professionally as a sport. That's weird. I'm kidding. But we need to get back in the church, and we need to take over back the roles that we were given by God, that He said, hey, this is you. Like I tell my wife, when we first got together, I was like, I have a role, you have a role. I should love you as Christ loved the church, and I should keep you as a precious thing, and you are going to submit to me. And she hates that word, but I explained what it meant. But I was like, I want you to really focus on this. I love you like Christ loved the church. Christ died for the church. I have to be willing to die for you. And that is the vow I made for you. I was like, you understand how serious that is? And she said, I completely get what you're talking about. So we need to get back to the fundamentals, but the world is trying to, of course, like it always does, tear down what the Bible has taught us is the fundamentals of what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, we had someone come speak to our kids about that particular verse especially. And the girls, I could just see, they started looking around like,
because they're like, I'm an independent woman.
And I even had some
we were meant to be together.
Right. I even had some kids come up to me and say, yeah, I don't like that message. And I'm like, you have to stop okay, I don't like the word submit, and listen to what he said at the end that brings it all together. Like, we all have a role to play for our household and our family.
Exactly. And that's why I try to explain to people. I'm like, women will hear the word submit and they think, oh, submit means what it means today. I was like, no.
I got to do anything you tell me.
You've got...
Men have to submit too to the Lord.
Exactly. It's not a one way. I was like, you've got to understand, I, as the head of the household, am on the chopping block more than anybody else. If my children fail and my wife fail, I failed. That is on my head now. I am on the chopping block. I completely submit to Jesus Christ and God's will. If I do not execute what they are telling me to do, I fail the rest of the line. It's like a chain of command in the army. As you get a 4-star general telling a 1-star general to do something and he doesn't tell the rest of the line, all of them are dead now. And that one guy failed. Same thing with the head of the household. If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, do you think my wife's going to? Do you think my children are going to? Do you think their children are going to? No, it starts with me. When God created man, he looked down and saw they needed a helper and created woman out of man. That doesn't mean he took a bone out of my rib. He did not take one out of my foot for me to stand higher than the woman. He did not take one out of my head for a woman to stand above me, but he took one out of my rib so I could be where my arm is around her to protect her. You protect your ribs. Yeah. I was like, so we stand as equals.
Yeah. Equally yoked.
Yes. And when we get married, there is, and I hate that women and men do this. The man would be like, I'm the master of the house. And the woman's like, I'm an independent woman. No, when you got married, God looks at you as one flesh now. You are one person. You two are one now. That was the vows you made. That is what God looks at you now. I'm not going to say you look like you got 4 arms, 4 legs, but you're now one flesh. So, but getting back to like the FCA, how have you seen FCA influence these kids you work with in their personal walk with Christ? Are there any particular stories that stand out that you've seen really affected a certain kid?
Yeah, it's hard to narrow down some of these, but I think it's important to think about the fact that, like, we sometimes bring up numbers because we are essentially in a way a business, but if there's 500 kids that get saved in an event, like, each of those kids are a soul that Jesus transformed, right? And those kids are going to go out and do, more things. I definitely think, like, there's kids in high school that have Bible studies with their boyfriend and girlfriend, and I think that that's so cool. Like, they're, hoping to maybe one day be together forever, and so they're trying to, have time together in the Word. I mean, I see a lot of, there was this one girl, she was very popular, she was very good at sports, and a lot of people looked to her and that's what she was known for. That's what she would walk around, and I'm known for, I don't want to be too specific about her.
Yeah.
Like, I'm known for this. People know me because of this, and I'm great at this. And she went to the next level, played her sport at the next level, but it was so beautiful. I got to go with her to a camp, and I got to see, like, God really moving in her heart. And she even came out and told me, like, I feel like I have so much pressure on myself because people are always looking at me because I am, the star on the team.
Yeah.
I am the person that people know, and my family, they're also, really popular and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like all eyes are always on me.
That you always have an expectation now,
Yeah.
anywhere you go.
And it just became like a lot and really heavy on her. And so it was just cool to see, like, throughout that camp how she was realizing, like, I don't care about my pride and what people think of me. Like, my goal is to just do what God called me to do. And it's just beautiful getting to walk with kids and that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's a little crazy. Like, I've had one girl, she called me at like 11 o'clock at night. I was asleep, actually, because she just wanted to talk about something that was upsetting her with someone else. And so it was just a lot of stuff. I see so much stuff, it's hard for me to pinpoint it all down. But I don't feel worthy to be able to do this, so I'm very grateful that God's called me to it.
That's a great humbling mindset to have.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
that's why I would love to talk to anybody from the Bible, because outside of Jesus, none of us are perfect, and we're not worthy to
Not
do
even
it.
close.
But God still calls us to it, and I think that that's a beautiful thing. And I mean, I get to continue to watch these kids, you know, after they graduate, go on and do things, and I can definitely see Jesus in their life through the way that they do things.
Mhm.
Getting to talk to them, and I mean, even social media is what it is. People put out what they want, but also, like, I get to see some of these kids worshiping and going to these big campus things and doing stuff with their friends and trying to have a group. There's this one kid, he really wants to be an evangelist. Bryce Crawford inspired him. Like, he wants to go out and help lead people to Jesus. And
Heck yeah.
of course, I feel like in a way it's because they were touched through FCA or their church or whatever it is, that one person that was faithful. So yes, I get to see that a lot. And
That's awesome.
I'm grateful that I get to, because
I was about to say that's the greatest reward to actually see that over and over again. I love doing this podcast. I don't get to see that. It's going off into the internet. I don't get to see that actually touch people's lives and actually, but you're seeing that firsthand. And I can't think of a better reward than that. But I mean, that kind of reminds me Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who call according to His purpose. So I mean, you're doing His purpose. You're loving God.
yeah.
What else could you ask for on that?
The word also says, delight in the Lord and He'll give you the desires of your heart. So, like, when you are loving Jesus and there's something you're passionate about, like, we're passionate about wrestling. And so God knows that and sees that, and He gives us that delight and lets us get to use that as our outlet to be able to share Him to people.
Yeah, and I will say, as far as our wrestling team, this is our past 4th year, going into our 5th year. This past year, we've had over 70-something kids registered for our team, where we're about at maximum capacity. So
That's a lot.
it's definitely growing in a good way, and in a way that we know that God has His hands in it.
And those kids every week get to hear the Word of God. And guess who's sitting there with them? Their families.
They're seeing
all their
that.
families are getting to hear that. And it's really cool when parents come up and say, man, I love that. I was just talking to my kids about this. Or, hey, where is that? I want to read that for myself.
My favorite is I'll drop an episode and someone like, I was just reading that that passage last night. And I was like, then you were watching the right thing. Then that's all I gotta say. As a new mom, how you're navigating the balance of motherhood and your role with FCA and your family life, what helps you find that balance?
I think having someone to hold you accountable is really good. I like to reassess things a lot, so I feel like I even hold myself accountable, and I'll just a lot of times pray and say, God, like, what am I putting first? And there have been times where I've put work first, or I put wrestling first. And wrestling is a very tough season because I have high school wrestling, and then I'm helping Zach with the kids, and like, we did a breakdown not too long ago of like, if we were to do certain things, like how many hours we work, and it was so crazy.
Y'all got a crazy. Zach will just be like, I'm like, what's going on? We got this Saturday, and then this Sunday, and I'm like, dang, dude.
If you're not careful, you can find those things inching their way above the things that are more important. And so I know, like, God is the most important thing in my life and my relationship with Him, but also, like, God is a part of all these other things that I'm doing. So that's also a beautiful thing. But I have to know, like, my relationship with Zach is very important. My relationship with Miley comes right after that. But they all work together. My relationship with God, of course, is first. Zach, Miley, and then, you know, my stuff with work and wrestling, like, all of that stuff is important next. And they all go together, right? Like, my family, my work, and my relationship, it all intertwines.
That's amazing that y'all can keep a balance. I'll give y'all that. Y'all got energy.
But you have to be aware. You have to check yourself, because
I let stuff creep in.
Up. Yeah.
I've let my wife had to talk with me because I've started getting busy with the podcast skin and the mobile wellness. She's like, hey, remember me. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I got you. So you've got to set time aside. And Jesus gave His disciples plenty of time to rest. He said, hey, y'all go sit down. Y'all go chill.
I think everyone should have like a 1 month hiatus from work and things.
I would love for
life.
them to be like, hey, we're going to give y'all a month off to just kind of
That's
chill.
a great time.
That's what, like, my wife's like, let's go on vacation. I was like, can we take a week off? We just sit on the couch at home for like 1 week.
I enjoy that.
I was like, that would be the greatest. Like, you see adults get excited. Like, what'd you do this weekend? I was like, nothing. And it was amazing. But that does remind me of Isaiah 40:11. If if I can read my terrible handwriting. He shall feed his flocks like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm and carry them in his bosom, and shall gently lead those that are with young. First is definitely talking about a mother with a child. I will lead those with a young. So Jesus is a shepherd, constantly caring us, constantly seeking us, and constantly taking care of us. But this is getting towards the end, guys. But if there's a young person out there who's feeling lost or unsure, especially in sports or just in life in general, what would you say to them? How would you encourage them to find purpose and to turn towards faith?
That's good. There's 3 things that I always tell everyone. You need to get into the Word because, like Zach said, God's going to speak to you through anything. You can just randomly open this up and boom, God's going to speak to you. So I would say get in the Word and get to know Him. And then you have to have community because it's not good to do things alone. When we're alone, that's when the devil tries to creep in and do all these things and say these things. I always say the devil likes to play 2 truths and a lie, you know?
Yeah.
He'll say, yeah, you didn't do this. Yeah, you got up late. Oh, you're lazy. That's not true. I'm not lazy. I just need to prioritize my time better. But you have to get in the Word. You have to get community. And you have to get to know Jesus. You have to have that relationship. And that comes through doing those other things, having community, some sort of church or some sort of group, and having a Bible, having the Word. And honestly, a lot of times I feel like people talk, pray, but they don't take time to listen. I feel like listening and just being quiet and letting God speak to you is such an important part of our prayer time. So just, having the opportunity for God to speak to you. And He will speak to you through the Word, but He also speaks to you literally while you're praying. I always tell kids this because kids always ask me, well, how do you know that it's God speaking to you? How do you not know that it's just like something in your mind telling you something? And one person told me one time, a long time ago, he said, if you're in a room and you hear someone in the other room talking and your mom's in the room talking, you realize that that's your mom, because you spend a lot of time. But the more time that you spend with God, the more you're going to understand when He's speaking to you. So I think it's important to, be in the Word, have a community, and talk to God.
That's great points. You got anything?
As far as what I would tell a kid that's struggling with that is just stop thinking about doing stuff and doing it for yourself, and try to do it for God and do it for another purpose. Because that's where I find myself. I feel so much more enlightened with the things that I do when I start doing it for myself, because there's recurrent thing that there's that emptiness inside of you that when you do it all for yourself, but when you do it for God's will, you know that you're fulfilling some type of journey, you're fulfilling some type of something bigger than yourself, and it just feels a whole lot more rewarding to do it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that, and just being able to be a part of the community and actually sell something or sharing something that's worth sharing instead of, I went through my life doing that, just being mad at the world, hating everything, figuring out what I can get out of something, and then finding Jesus like, hey, that's not how we live. And it's just like reading the Bible, I'm like, that's how I felt it was supposed to be like. That's how I thought it was supposed to be like. And then just revealing the words, and you're only going to get that through the Bible. I've gone to 1,000 churches. I love listening to preachers, but what really punched me in the gut is when I started reading it, when I started understanding something not coming from another man's mouth, but actually opening the Word and meditating, actually saying, hey, I looked up and I said, I will give it 100% shot to read it and try and understand it, but I need your help, and that's all it took. So I just want to say I've had a absolutely amazing time with y'all. Y'all are 2 amazing people, and I am so appreciative of what y'all are doing. I think more people should be doing it, going after these kids that's about to jump out of high school into the lion's mouth of the Word. Somebody's going to teach them their values, and I think Christians need to take a bigger role of teaching them the right values than letting the world, we see what the world tries to teach you, and it's horrible. So thank y'all once again for being on the podcast, guys.
Thank you.
You're making a good change too doing this.
I'm trying, man.
Like you said, you don't see it as much in first person, but I guarantee you there's people that's hearts are touched from this. And
that's what I say. If I can get one more person, I'm good with that.
Sure.
So we'll close out with prayer, guys, and Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the time that we're able to spend together with these two amazing people, Lord, that you brought together, that you saw what their purpose was going to be, to go after these kids, Lord, to bring them to Jesus Christ and his salvation, to show them that they are loved and cared about and that they're just not another person in the world, to show them the amazing and all power that you have, Father. All glory belongs to you, Lord, and I ask for your will to be done and to be executed. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank y'all again, guys. We appreciate being on here with y'all, and I hope y'all have a blessed day, guys. See y'all later.